there, welcome to Subpar Stitches. My name is Hillary and this is my Flosstube channel. This current Flosstube will cover from January 9th to the 29th. Usually I try to do every 2 weeks, and this video is being posted 2 weeks after my previous video, but I posted that video like way late, so that's why this video is covering 3 weeks. Usually I shoot for 2. Here on my channel I talk predominantly about cross stitch, but I will be talking about other crafts as well. In one particular section, I always timestamp my videos down below, so if you want to skip over or to a certain part, you can do that. I also link all the patterns that I talk about in chronological order down below as well, just in case you see something you're interested in. It makes it easier for you guys to go and find it. So with all of that out of the way, let's hop right in. So my first segment is usually shoutouts, but I don't have any because I haven't watched like hardly any Flosstube this month because I've been saving them to my Flosstube playlist, but work has been stupid, and it's for a good reason. One of my coworkers is really sick, and so we've all just been kind of taking on a lot of her duties while she's recovering in the hospital. So I just have not had time to focus on any kind of YouTube videos right now. So we're gonna skip the shoutout section and go right into FFOs, which I have one of. This is going to be really reflective because I know a lot of stitchers don't like to put the glass in their frames. I don't know why, because I feel like it's going to get dusty if you don't. But I started this project on New Year's Eve, finished it on New Year's Day. I needed it done. I was like obsessed with this. This is called Alien Portrait. It's by Stitch Tits, and I stitched it on a 14 count Daydream Ada by Crafty Gurumi. It is, I don't know if you can tell, like opalescent. Oh my god, it's so blown out by the light. But she's beautiful. I love her. I actually bought a different frame that was this kind of like mirrored silver for her, and it was like more like it looked like twisted metal, but the size didn't work. It cut off like her collarbones, and I don't know how oval frames work apparently, because I was like, the measurements seem fine, but no, they weren't. So I had to go with this like much larger frame. And I like the effect. It's very like outer spacey. The only issue with this frame is it doesn't have anything on the back, because I want to hang this on the wall. So either I need to just display it like this, which I don't want to do, or affix something to the back, which I also don't feel like doing, but I'm probably going to do that. But looks really good, really excited. Probably the fastest I've ever FFO'd anything. I know it's just sticking it in a frame, but still. Next, we have our FOs, or finished objects, and I have 3, which is pretty good. So the first one I have is my first medium project, my oldest medium project, and this is Quacker Sampler by Star Parade Designs, stitched on a 32 count blue spruce linen by Swigart, I think. And then I used Gentle Arts for the floss, and it's pretty big. There we go, we got it all in frame. I hate this linen with a passion. It was just not easy to use and very like loose weave, but I love the way this looks. So I will probably frame this at some point. I just gotta find, I feel like a rustic wooden frame would look good. I think my favorite part is the little rubber duck at the bottom, and then I also really like the little duck feet prints over here. This center motif was so annoying to stitch just because the border was just very repetitive, and it was huge. But I think it's really cute. I think it's a fun take on Quaker Sampler, but make it ducks. I used 1 strand over 2, which I was worried about how it would look. In the final result, I think it's fine, but I wouldn't do 1 over 2 on 32 again unless I was looking for a specific kind of vibe. And then you can see I have quite a good sizable chunk of this linen left over at the bottom, and usually I'm very frugal with my linen. I use every last piece that I can. I don't think I will in this case. I think I will just say goodbye to that scrap because I hated this linen so much. I say that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to cut it off and label it and put it in my drawer and seethe about it some more later. But the variegation on I don't know if you can kind of see on this one, you can see the white to kind of off-white, like dingy look of this floss that I used is called Linen by Gentle Arts, and it was the called for. This is the called for linen too, but I would advise if you do this pattern and you don't like a loosey-goosey weave, I would not use this linen. My next finish was one of my small categories, and this is the February Rose-Breasted Cockatoo by Lindy Stitches. I stitched this on a 32 count even weave by Bestitch Me. It doesn't have a name, it just had a number, 207, and I used a wide variety of different threads here. So I used DMC, Classic Colorworks, Miss Sadis, Silks, and Gentle Arts. And let me turn the light down one. That'll help. There we go. So you can see it's like a big postage stamp, very cute. When I first bought this, I was like, I don't need every bird in the series. But then I finished it and I was like, I think I need every bird in the series. And the previous time I showed this to you, there wasn't like much differentiation between these two colors. I ended up ripping out one of the colors and then just converting, because they use like a Weeks Dye Works here, and I just converted that rose quartz, it was called, to DMC. I found like a conversion chart and I just pulled the DMC, and I think it looks much better. And I had asked my friend Tara what she thought, and she told me I should probably just rip it out and restitch it, and she was right. But ripping it out was really hard because I couldn't tell where one color ended and the next began because they look so similar. And the other problem was, like, I could have just used the pattern, except I made a mistake on the head feathers and made like them a little bit too far apart or too close in some spots. So I just fudged it, and then I was like, great, now I gotta figure this out. But I don't think that it matters. I don't think you can tell. So very cute. And this was only one of 2 Valentine's Day patterns that I have. I need some more. I really love the cute little Valentine's-y stuff. So if anybody has any cool, like fun, cute or weird, specifically, I love weird patterns, Valentine's Day themed patterns, let me know because I would love to check those out. And then my last finished object was the next small on my chronological list of smalls, because I'm going through, if you didn't watch my whip parade or my previous Flosstube, I'm going through, I arbitrarily sorted all of my projects into small, medium, and large categories, and then I'm working on one small, one medium, and one large until that one is finished. And I'm going from chronological order. So I'm starting with my oldest, and then I'm just cascading, trying to finish all of my oldest whips. So the next one that was in that smalls category was Big Hearted Tiny Town by Heart and Hand. I stitched this on a 32 count Heartland linen by Picture This Plus, and I chose to use the DMC because this is pretty small and I didn't want to buy all of the fancy floss. So you would think with how itty bitty this is, it would be super quick, but there's a lot of color changes because it's so small. So that did slow me down a little bit. And through this, even though I love this piece, I think it's very cute and I want to finish it into a drum, and I have the Halloween Tiny Town as well, which I will finish into a drum. Via this, I've learned that I just don't enjoy stitching houses that much. Like, I know there are some people who are, they're like, house stitching is all I live by. I don't know what it is. I just don't want to stitch a house. It's not my thing. And also, so it has these 4 little heart buttons on there. There's like one, there's a couple there, and then there's like a bigger one in the middle, and then one by that little post box. And I was like, oh, I could use DMC to affix them on there. Or I have this invisible sulky thread, and I could try that out because I got that in my Crafty Gurumi Advent box 2 Christmases ago, and I hadn't tried it yet. And I was like, that would be perfect. And so I was like cutting the thread, and then I would set it down to like rearrange, and then I'd go to try to find the thread on the desk. And I was like, where did the thread go? It's so invisible. Like, it's not easy to use because you can't see it. Maybe I'm just old. I don't know. But I kept like thinking like, oh, that's it. And then it would be like my hair attached to my head. And I'm like, okay, this is not going well. So it took me a minute to get the buttons on, but as you can see, or as you can't see, no visible thread. And then on the back, in between where my 2 fingers are, that's where the button is like tied on there. You can't see the thread at all. So the invisible thread, highly recommend, but not easy to use, be in a well-lit area. And then the other thing too is I tied all the buttons on, and then I was like, oh shoot, I need to iron this. And I was like really paranoid that the buttons were gonna melt when I was ironing it, but they seem to have held up. I just need to find a little drum finishing tutorial, and then we'll be all set. And I'm stitching the Halloween Tidy Town on the same linen, but that was my last Valentine's Day project. I don't have any more that I can think of, so I need some more, because I have like an inordinate amount of Halloween, probably like a medium amount size of Christmas, because I love doing Christmas ornaments, and then like no other holidays. I need to stitch for some other holidays. I have no new starts because I've been so focused on trying to finish a lot of my older projects. I'm not like I guess what I'm doing is basically whipping down, but I'm not doing it because I feel like I need to. I just hate letting projects rot, I guess. And so I want to get through some of my older projects before I start something new. I have a lot kitted up. And one of the ones I really want to start is Pigeon and Puddle. So once I finish a few more, I might start that. I don't know. Because I have the Pirate and Robin thread pack, and I just really want to try those out. But no new starts as of right now. So that leads us into whips, or works in progress. And of course, as you've seen every week or every video since like an entire year, I have my epic Pokemon Generation 1 by Lord Libidin being stitched on 18 count white Ada by Kato, and it's all in DMC. And here is where I was the last time. I've put in probably around 6,000 stitches. My mandatory goal is 2,000 a week, and that'll get me done by the end of April. This week I messed up, and I could just go back and like deal with it, but I just don't feel like it. But I got to my last allocated day of stitching on Pokemon, and I was like, okay, I only have to do 500 stitches, and then I will hit my 2,000. Turns out I needed to do 550 stitches. So I was 50 short this week, but that's fine. I go over some weeks, so it's not the end of the world. But we'll do like a slow roll here. So here's everything that's fully done. And then so I've reached the bottom, and I was working on, let me fold it in half so it's easier to, I was working mainly over here just to try and get some of that big color blocking. And I've just been, I gotta move over a little bit. I've just been like all over the place with it. Oh my gosh, it's so like, there was an eyelash on there. But I was just kind of going literally everywhere and nowhere all at once. Like I just kept picking any section that had really big like color blocks, because I've had like a headache all week, and I didn't feel like doing a lot of the finicky littler stitches. And that's going to come back and bite me in the butt, because that takes forever, and then it makes it harder to hit the 2,000 goal. So next week, I think what I'm going to do is I'll stay on this side, and I'm going to focus on like finishing all this like empty white space here, and kind of start moving down and filling in, because it's such a weird like gap where I'm like, I got most of it here and most of it here, and then like just a huge blank white space in the middle for no reason. I don't know. I was just really called to, I really wanted to work on the purples and yellows and greens. And then whatever's in this area was, I think it was like mostly browns. And I was like, I don't feel like doing that right now. But we are officially, actually, let me look before I lie to you. I need 26,053 more stitches. And that's crazy. It's crazy that I've only got 26,000 left. Yeah, it's so weird to still see like there's like this huge blank white space, but not too much to say that I haven't already said, week by week. And I will pick this back up again on Monday and keep on going. My plan is to have this professionally framed, so I need to kind of start saving for that, because that costs like $2 billion to have anything professionally framed, and that's not me complaining, because I mean, it's a skill I don't have, so what can I say? But I also don't have $2 billion for a picture frame right now. But I want to do a bright blue, or like maybe a mid-tone blue, I don't know. I got to pull out my old Pokemon Blue version cartridge, because I want to match the blue of the frame to that as much as possible, because Blue version was the first Pokemon game I ever got. And I have very fond memories of playing that game, not because necessarily of Pokemon itself, but because my dad played on my file with me and we beat the game together. And by we, I mean my dad did all of the legwork and I just wandered around and spent all our money on the slot machines in the game. So yeah. And my dad is like following my progress too. Like I'll send him pictures here and there and be like, here I am. And he's like, nice, which he doesn't, he always just gives one word answers via text. He's like, pretty good. I'm like, cool, Dad, thanks. Thanks for the feedback. My next whip is the new medium project that I'm working on. And this is the Slumber Party Sal by Sewing Starfish. I started this as the Sal, and I just fell off really hard because the border is so dense. The frame is so dense, and I just couldn't power through it at the time because I just wasn't feeling the colors as much as I was with the Wizard Sal that she did, or they did. I guess I don't know who the designer is technically. But this is being stitched on an 18 count black Aida by Zweigart in all DMC. And this is another one where the fabric is just holding me back. Even though it's Aida, like the weave is hard to see, not because it's black Aida, because I've used plenty of black Aida and had no issues. It's like some of the squares just, they're not perfect in the way that I expect Aida to be perfect. And so like sometimes I miss and then my stitch looks a little wonky and I got to rip it out. But right now what I'm trying to do is finish the top of the frame, which I got a pretty good chunk. Like, look at how dense this is. Like, this is all fully filled in, this big window here. But I will be working on I'm going to, today actually, because today is when I start working on this again, because I work on medium project Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I will be pulling the top of the frame over as far as I can. My goal is to finish the entire top of the frame before I hop into the smaller motifs here, because the motifs are like really fun. And then I will pull the side borders down as I go, because that's easier than counting however many like bajillion stitches to the bottom. But you can see I was caught up for quite a while and then I just fell totally off. And that was just because the border really, I guess if I hold it further back, you can kind of see it a little better. But the border just really held me back. And now I'm enjoying it. But it's just a very gentle pastel color palette, as you can kind of see here. And so it's just, I love the color pink. I love it. But it's just so much pink. Not a lot breaking it up. So it makes it a little bit harder sometimes to focus on. But today I will be getting back to the frame and hopefully you guys will see, hopefully I can finish the top of the frame next time, or by the next time you guys see it. And then my next whip actually is out of order. Like I said, I reserve the right to pull whatever, whenever. It's just, my goal is to go through the oldest ones first, but you know, if I have a calling to work on one specific project, I'm not gonna like say no. This is not, it shouldn't be a chore. Every time I come home, Rob, my husband, is like, back at the sweatshop, I see, because I'm like, I gotta do 500 stitches on this, and then I gotta go over and do 9 rows on this thing, and I gotta do, like, crafting is truly my job. That's my evening shift at the craft mines. But I was going to meet up with a couple of friends at a boba tea place, which, by the way, I got just a plain hot jasmine tea. You know what they charge me? $7 frickin' for a tea, for a plain jasmine tea. Insane. Crazy. I don't understand, which I know I'm complaining, but I went just because I wanted to see my friends. So one of my really good friends who I met through work, and then I became like besties with him, and then became good friends with his wife as well. I haven't seen them in a while, and he messaged me on like a Friday and was like, we're going to like this boba place. Do you want to come and surprise my wife? And I was just like, ugh, you're making me leave the house. And he was like, well, you don't have to. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm not that bad of a friend. I'm a terrible friend. I just forget to reach out to people, but I was like, I have to do this, right? And so I went, and my friends are chronically late, and they were chronically late before they had two toddlers, but now they're even extra more chronically late. And then I'm chronically early, and then I misunderstood that they were waking their kids up from their nap at 2:30 and not like going to the place at 2:30. So I got there at like 2. And so I was glad I brought a craft with me because I was waiting a little bit due to my own anxiety of getting there early. All that to say, I wanted something small and easy, and at the time I was working on the not the Halloween, the Valentine's Day Tiny Town, and I was like, this has too many color changes. This is not very easy to just chill in a cafe with. So I grabbed the Kanto badges by Srithri, which I'm stitching on a 14 count white plastic canvas by DMC, and I'm using DMC floss, and it was just a very easy like in-hand project, and I ended up finishing all of the borders for all of these badges that I'm going to, now I gotta fill them in. There's like 10 bajillion colors. But once I get these filled in, I will cut them out, whip stitch around them, and then I bought pin backs, and I will affix the pin backs to them so that I can put them in an Ita bag, which they were supposed to ship this month. I've been waiting since I ordered my Ita bag when I was on my honeymoon, and that was last March. And they were supposed to ship this month. It was a Kickstarter, so, you know, I knew it was going to take some time. And then they got delayed because there is a potential issue. So, I mean, I'm glad that they caught it, but at the same time, I want my bag. And then we are on the current small, this is the one that I'm taking to work and working on there. This is the Piero Biscornu by Rowan and Rose. I have both of their, like, sad clown ones. So I have the Piero Biscornu, and then there's like a jester one. And I'm working on both of them, but I started this one first, so this is the first one that's going to get worked on. And I'm stitching this on an 18 count Lagoon Ada by Fiber on a Whim using DMC. I have some fun buttons for this Biscornu when it's done, so I'm excited, and I like the color scheme. I finished the bottom piece. I started with the bottom piece for some reason. Not that it really matters, but I finished this yesterday while I was at work. Now I just have to start the top piece. So it was quite difficult to stitch the faces because there was some Ada piercing, which I don't usually care about, but I just couldn't get it like aligned very well. So some of their faces look a little bit wonkier than others. And then the tear under their eye is a little French knot. I thought I managed to keep it fairly consistent, all except for this one. His French knot tear came out gigantic, and I was like, well, I guess you're extra sad. And then I did the back stitching around the outside, which is white, so it's getting blown out by my light. But the top, I guess I can just throw up a picture. The top of this has like much larger clowns, and then I have these like black and white like circular buttons that I need to grab them and stick them in the bag so I don't forget to use those. But I'm a little over 50% done. This was at like 52%, I think, when I finished the top of it. So the bottom of it. So the top of it shouldn't be too crazy. And it's only 4-ish colors, so very simple one to carry around. I love a Biscornu. There's something about them. There's such like a pointless decoration, and I just love it. Here's the buttons that I got. I got 2 of them. I thought these would be fun with it. Kind of big now that I'm looking at it. So like, seems a little bit large. I don't know. We'll decide. If I can't use them for this, I have other buttons, and then I can find a different Biscornu for these, because these are cute buttons. So those were all of my cross-stitch whips, but I do have some other crafts. I've been getting way more into knitting recently, which is a goal I kind of wanted to achieve this year, because last year I had a lot of stitches in cross-stitch, and I was like, I need to do some other crafts. I love knitting. I miss knitting, but I had lost all motivation for knitting. And my friend Tara of Will the Woman Crafts, she has been working like a speed demon on a knitting project and sharing her progress with me. I don't know if she's talked about it on her channel yet, so I don't want to say like what it is. I haven't watched her most recent video because I'm behind. But because of her, I've been extra motivated and I've like re-sparked my desire to knit. So the first project that I've been putting crazy time into, well, not crazy, but a lot more time into than I was, is the Katamari scarf by Katarina Kuntz. She has like a ton of double knit scarf patterns. She just released an Animal Crossing pattern, which we'll talk about that in plans. My brother had requested I make this for him in a not so subtle way. I had just sent his girlfriend, or I guess she's his fiance now, but I had just sent her socks for her birthday that I had handmade, which it was very clear that I handmade them. And then he texted me like a week later and he was like, hey, do you still knit? And it sent me a picture of this pattern. And I was like, obviously I do. Like, you know that. But here is, I don't know, let's do it sideways. Boom. This is based off of Katamari Damacy, which is one of my favorite video games. I've learned a lot from this scarf. Two big lessons, or two big takeaways. First, I learned how to double knit. I've never double knit before. And second, I learned that when you double knit, you shouldn't choose colors that are the same tone within their color family. You should choose one much lighter and one a little bit darker, because the contrast is not as good as I would hope. On camera, it looks pretty decent, but in real life, I don't know, it just looks a little fuzzy. But here is where I had started the last time you guys saw it. So I've got a pretty good chunk. I'm almost done with the third page of the pattern. There are 9 pages total. So let's move the stitch marker up and we'll see where we get to next time. I'm doing 7 rows a day because if I do a minimum of 7 rows a day, I'll be able to finish this and then have time to wash and block it in order to give it to my little brother for his birthday. And I'm almost done with my first 2 skeins of yarn. I haven't made yarn balls in forever, but the cakes that I had made were literally collapsing and they were really hard to manage. So last night I just wound them into these little cat yarn balls, and I still have to do my 7 rows today, but I've got to edit and upload videos first before I do that. But I am enjoying double knitting. It's just a little bit tedious because you're following a chart and you are constantly like moving the yarn back and forth, kind of like one by one ribbing, because you're knitting and purling at the, like, I don't know, I'm not a scientist. Either way, it takes more time, but it is very rewarding to see the picture come out in your knitting. And then I had previously mentioned, I think, that I didn't want to start anything new knit-wise until I had finished like all the projects on my needles. But then I realized like that's not feasible if I want to get like more heavily back into knitting, because sometimes mentally I just can't work on any more rows of that scarf, but I still want to knit. So I was like, I need some smaller, basic, easy projects so that I can have something a little bit more mindless to do when my brain is no longer functioning on the scarf level, just because I don't want to mess up the chart and then have the picture look goofy. So I made a few knitted cake cozies. This is like the piece, it's called like Piece of Cake. I think it was a free pattern. It'll be linked down below. And it was a way to use up some of my smaller bits of sock yarn that I just am like, I don't have use for this in any way other than like scrap projects. So it's a little bit tight. You know, gauge really doesn't matter on something like this because it's not a wearable, but at the same time it kind of does, because otherwise it doesn't fit the thing you're putting it on. But I didn't wash and block it yet, so here is what it looks like. It's just like, it's got like a ribbed kind of tip here, and then you just like decrease it, and it, I don't know, it just holds your yarn cake. Yarn for my yarn. I really needed this because my hair just gets wrapped around a lot of the yarn, so the yarn cake is kind of helping keep that together. So that was actually the second one I did. The first one I did was this one with this like self-striping yarn, and I've got pairs of socks of both of these. And there's two sizes, so those both were the small ones, and these are the next two cakes of yarn for that project, so I just stuck them in there. And then I decided to make a large one just because, and I am currently using it in this project, but I'm actually wearing these socks right now. And I just needed to use up some of this scrap yarn because I feel like there's some sock yarns where like the little bits I can use for heel, toe, cuff, whatever, but then some of them where they're like heavily variegated like this, I just feel like it's gonna look funny if I use them for anything like that. So after that, I was like, okay, I've knit a million of these, only 3, but still. And I was like, let me find something else small to do. And I decided to start the beekeeper quilt, which is a very quick, well, each facet of it is quick, but like the overall quilt itself is not quick because you need like 380 bajillion of these hexie puffs. So never knit one before, so I bought the pattern. I feel like some of my hexies are a little bit wonky when it comes to the decreases. Like, okay, I think this was like the most recent one I made. So basically you knit a bajillion of these, almost 400, and then you know, sew them together and they look like a kind of honeycomb hexie quilt. So most of these look fine. It's just this one. I don't know, the side of this one got like fully blown out, but when they get sewn together, it'll probably be fine. But you knit them in the round, technically, but it's like flat in the round. It's weird. So you only use 2 needles and you're like holding them like parallel and you're like knitting across one and then across the other, and it is in the round because it's joined, but it's a little bit finicky at first and it took a minute to get used to, but I only started this week, and I've already made 4 of these hexie puffs, and I had all this yarn that I bought in like a kit I bought the Stardew Valley sock pattern kit, and it, you know, I wasn't thinking, and I bought the palette one, which this is 2-ply wool, 100% wool, so it doesn't have any kind of stretch to it in the way that like a lot of like sock yarns have, and it's only 2-ply, so I feel like I'm very hard on my feet and I would destroy those socks in a second, and I don't want to put in all that effort only to have those socks be destroyed in like 2 wears. So I was like, I don't think I can use this for that. I need to buy sock yarn for that, which that's like a project for the future, because this is only 1 drawer. There's like 2 drawers of this. It uses a lot of different colors. So I was like, what am I going to do with this? And so the Hexie Puff quilt seemed like one way to use up some of this without, you know, being wasteful. So I have enough colors to where like it's 380 something squares, I believe, 84 or 86. If I do 12 Hexie Puffs, I just said squares, but they're hexagons. 12 hexagons of every color that I have, every unique color that I have in this palette yarn, that'll be enough. Like that's how many colors I have, which is kind of crazy. But it's just a really easy on-the-go project. Very quick to cast one on, cast one off, and it called for it was like a 3 needle bind off, but they were like, use this crochet hook. And I'm aware of like a 3 needle bind off. I've just never done it before because I've never had a project that needed it. And so I was like following their instructions with the crochet hook, and I'm incompetent with a crochet hook. Like I just fumble with it. I couldn't do it. And then I finally realized, I was like, I can just do this with a 3rd knitting needle, and it was way easier. But I've been keeping this in the bag that Michaela made me with my Christmas gift, and I just take it to and from work with me, and I can easily throw this in my bag if I'm going out and about. So very nice, portable, small knitting project. So that's everything for other crafts. I have a little bit of haul. It's all digital though. So if you guys are familiar with Humble Bundle, it's like a charity thing where they collect like books into these bundles, and then you pay a certain amount and you get all the books, and then part of the money, maybe all the money, I don't know, some money at some point goes to charity. And I was looking at their website and they had a bunch of knitting books. I think it was like 17 knitting books. And it was like 18 bucks was like the minimum money you had to put in. So I got all of these knitting books. One of them is the first sock book by Summer Lee. So for the price of what you would probably pay for like just a sock book, you're getting 17 knitting books. And they had a lot of different stuff. So I did download that. I believe it's still up there. I will link to it down below if it is. And then I saw the Cozy DH put out this Cozy Alien Sampler pattern. So I joined their Patreon just to get this pattern because it's X-Files themed and it's cute and I needed it. So that's all I bought. I am planning to buy, so I guess we'll just phase right into plans. I'm planning to buy the new Animal Crossing scarf this weekend from Katarina Kuntz, and instead of a scarf, because I have quite a lot of hair. I don't know if you guys have seen all this hair. There's a lot. The trick is to just never cut it. Okay? People always ask me, how do you get your hair so long? It's called not cutting it. Like, I feel like that's obvious. But I have so much hair that wrapping a scarf around it makes me feel claustrophobic. And if I lift my hair up, put the scarf underneath it, and then let the hair lay outside the scarf, I feel like I look stupid. So I'm not a big scarf wearer. I can just wear my hair as a scarf. Oh, okay, it fell. Maybe I can't. But either way, wearing scarves makes me feel insane. So I was like, how can I take this Animal Crossing pattern and make it something that I would use? And I came up with the best idea of all time, and that is to make a blanket, because she charted 413 characters, like the villagers, for the double knitting, and then she charted like 24 or 26 of the special characters as well. Like, I'm assuming it's probably like, you know, Cap'n and Tom Nook and KK Slider and all that. And then a bunch of like extra little motifs to add in, and you basically just create your own scarf of whatever animals you want. And at first I was like, I can't narrow it down to what I want for a scarf's length. And then I realized I was like, I don't even wear scarves. Like, I'm going to make this and then it's going to sit there. But I love a blanket. And so I want to double knit a bunch of panels and then like sew them together somehow and then make a blanket, which will be very time consuming, pretty expensive. So I'm going to start planning it out this weekend, all the animals I want, the colors I want, and all that. And then once I'm done with this scarf, I'll probably cast that on and start picking up the yarn. My thought is to have one side's background color all be the same, and then do each villager in like their own color, or like all the reddish leaning villagers I'll do in the same red yarn, and all the blue villagers I'll do in like the same blue yarn. And then on the flip side of the blanket, that's where the background will be, you know, the other color, and the other side will be like a little more chaotic, but I can kind of decide. So I don't know. I gotta workshop it a little bit and see what I want to do. And then as far as my stitching plans go, I need to continue putting in stitches on that Pokemon, because that's not going to be done till April. I'm going to work on the border, or like the frame of the Slumber Party Sal. I don't think I can finish it this weekend, but I'll get close enough to where probably next weekend I'll be able to finish that frame part, the top of the frame, and then I can move on to some motifs in the side border. And then I'm hoping I can finish the Piero Biscornu by the next, maybe not fully finish it, but finish the stitching by the next time I see you guys. And if I do, then my next work project will be Coffee Time by Ink Circles. And that, I've finished Tea Time already, and I'm almost done with Cocoa Time. So once I have all three of those, I'm going to finish those together in like 3 of the same frames. So I'm going to try out a new segment. I don't know. My friend Tara from Willow Woman Craft, she always does a reading, watching, playing at the end. I guess we'll see from analytics if anybody sticks around or cares about this part. But I wanted to do a little of that. So stealing this from you, Tara. As far as reading goes, I decided to give audiobooks a second chance because I hate being read to, but I also haven't been reading in the way that I want. So I was like, maybe I just need to try that out. So Tara suggested to me a place to go to get some audiobooks because I was complaining that like all the audiobooks at my library had like a bajillion year wait, or at least the ones that I wanted to listen to. And so I did end up downloading one called The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. And I really like listening to, and or not listening to, I try to read a lot of books by Asian diaspora. I've never heard the word said. I've only seen it written. So if it's wrong, I'm sorry. But especially specifically Koreans, because my husband is Korean, his family is Korean, and I try to gain like perspective on, where they come from and how their life has gone and things like that. I mean, I get that from talking to them too. Like, it's not like I don't listen to them. I'm like, let me see what this author has to say about your life. It's not like that, but I just like to see like the general layout of the land, because if he and I have children, like I want to make sure I'm not like destroying their life. I don't know. It's a whole weird thing in my head, but I'm just like gonna raise a child wrong, especially because they have multiple cultures. So that's between me and my non-existent therapist. But I thought this one, being a horror novel, would be kind of interesting, especially because the name caught me because my husband's cousin, the first time I met him, he was 8, and we went to a Korean restaurant and we were eating family style, which is typically what we do. And they laid down like a lot of like Asian cultures, they don't like cut the fish up. They grill the whole fish and they bring the whole fish to your table. And then you peel apart whatever pieces you want. And my husband's 8-year-old cousin just goes, I call the eyes, and like starts gunning to eat these fish eyes. And I was like, buddy, they're yours. I don't want them. But apparently in like some Asian cultures, eating the eyes is considered like good luck and also like good for your eyesight. And I told my husband's cousin, I was like, we eat carrots for that, so I don't know, but you can have the eyes. They're all yours. But I'll never forget seeing an 8-year-old child be like, I call the eyes. I was like, okay, it's all you, man. But this book was definitely a ride. You go from the main character being like, damn, my parents are splitting up, to damn, I want to eat human eyeballs. And it was a little jarring. And I liked the audiobook and I managed to stay focused the entire time. But I did feel a little awkward when the person reading the audiobook was kind of doing, I call it the voice, where people kind of put on the Asian accent. So she was doing the voice for the Korean mom, which made sense in the context of the story. And the reader herself was also Korean. So I was like, she can do what she wants. But at the same time, I was like sitting there and I was like, I don't know how to feel. But that's my problem, not hers. So, but it was weird. Watching, we started the show The Chair Company, which is Tim Robinson. I love him. It's a comedy shot like a horror thriller. It's insane. Like, or like a mystery thriller, I guess, not horror. It's really done well, but it maintains that highly absurd Tim Robinson style. So if you like him, I think you'll enjoy it. I'm only 2 episodes in. It's stupid and it's funny. And I need to watch that movie he was in recently called Friendship, I think. My sister keeps telling me to watch it, so. And we also went and saw the new 28 Years Later. My husband made me watch 28 Days Later a couple weeks ago, or maybe like over the Christmas break, and I really liked it. So then we watched, or 28 Days Later is the one we watched, and then he was like, all right, now let's watch 28 Weeks Later, which was bad. American war propaganda. And then we went and watched the first 28 Years Later, and I was like, this is great. A lot of zombie wiener, but this is great. I really liked it. It was very artistically shot. Zombie wiener, I guess. But the newest one, oh my God, dude, it was so good. There's a sequence, like a 3-minute Iron Maiden sequence. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And it is so good. The guy who plays like the main focus character in the last one, He played Voldemort in the Harry Potter movies. That's like what I know him from. Not a Harry Potter stan, just saying that that's who the actor was. Um, he's a fantastic actor. He just plays this really like unique, unusual man very well. So I'm not even a big like I really liked the Dawn of the Dead remake, but like outside of that, I'm not like a huge zombie movie person, but this movie was so well done. And also we're watching the most recent, I think it's the most recent 90 Day the Other Way season. My sister was like, you have to watch this. Everyone is so hateable. And she was telling me she like hates Manon, the French lady, so much. Like she's so annoying. And I'm watching it and I'm like, I'm literally Manon. Like she and I are one and the same. I feel like I would get along with her because she and I both whine and are very dramatic at any slight inconvenience. So, but I think we're almost done with this most recent season. So I don't know what we'll watch next. Probably finish The Chair Company. And then as far as playing goes, Fortnite, unfortunately, got into that. Not good at it. No build mode, please. But I've been playing that. And this weekend I plan to finally play the new Animal Crossing update. I just haven't had the time and I haven't visited my village in a while, so I feel a little guilty. Years, some might say. But I want to check out the hotel aspect that everyone's complaining about. So that is going to be it from me. That was everything. I hope that I see you guys in a couple weeks and enjoy your stitching. And I hope that it's warmer where you are than I am currently because our trees are exploding here in Michigan for some reason. Science, I don't know. But anyways, I need to go edit this video and then I gotta go put like 7 rows of my Katamari scarf and then I'm gonna go cross stitch for the rest of the night. So I hope you guys enjoy this video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.